Okay, so I'm Bracey Odums, a senior this year at Langston University and an intern for theblackdoctor.org. I've been writing for them and I also conduct interviews. So I'm happy to interview you today. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Stacie Davis. I'm a fourth year dental student at Howard University College of Dentistry, currently working here in Washington, D.C., but originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, that's fun. I'm from Kansas City. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, we're down the street.
Yeah. So, I got some questions for you, and I pretty much just am gonna start from the top. So when did you start considering a career in the medical field?
Yes, so my journey actually started when I was 12 years old. My mom is actually a nurse, and for the longest I was like, oh, I want to be like my mom, I want to be a nurse. And she said, nurses don't get paid enough at the time, pick something else. So, out the blue one day, I was asked in summer camp, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think I had just came from the dentist, and I was like, oh, I want to be a dentist. And from then on, I kind of just kept saying it, and it brought me to this point today. One of the first dentists I actually shadowed, she worked at our community clinic back in St. Louis, and she worked closely with my mom, and I think I was in high school at the time when I first shadowed a dentist for a day, and that's when I saw my first extraction and all of that, and so I was like, wow, I think I can do this. And then that's also when I fell in love with like public health dentistry and things in that nature too. So from then on, it's just that has been the goal, that has been the mission. And another thing too that made me fall in love with this field is the fact that not only dentistry allows me to be in the health field and help people in regards to their overall health, but every day it's like an art project. And I've always loved to get my hands into things. I've always drawn and things in that nature. So when I was younger too, a dentist was like, yeah, I was an art major. And then that's what made me, become a dentist because I knew I wanted to be in the health field. And I didn't realize literally every day is an art project in the world of dentistry too. So not only, like I said, it combines the love of healthcare. It combines my love. It combined my love from helping people. And this ultimately it combined my love just for the creativity that is a lot of people don't know is involved in this field. So that's kind of how I was introduced and started to get into field. It just combines all of my loves into one thing.
Yeah, I definitely never heard anyone say or even consider that in the dentist world it's definitely more creative and more of an art project than as opposed to in a hospital per se. It's really inspiring to hear that you kind of just picked a career and you said you wanted to do it and you stuck with it, especially for a college student like myself. I've gotten questions why I want to do what I do, and I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of said I wanted to do it one random day and I stuck by it. So in your undergrad years, you said you made, what was your major?
So I was a biological science major with a business minor.
Okay, got you. So in your undergrad years and kind of in your transitioning area period, what are some things that you think you did that made your transition easier, or what would you have done differently?
Into dental school?
Yes.
My transition. Okay. So first thing I would say definitely assisted my transition is I looked intently into pipeline programs that supported minority applicants and exposing them to different fields, especially in dentistry and medicine. So that's something to where I definitely feel open. So and especially I want to backtrack. In my family, I have one doctor in the family. We're far removed for the most part, but there's no dentist in my family. So not a lot of people do the steps to even get to where I've been blessed to be at this point. And so those programs was something that allowed me to understand how to apply. What do I need to have on my application? What do I need to be doing for the 4 years and things in that nature in preparation for me to apply to dental school to eventually attend. So that was something that made a pivotal impact on me. At the time, it's called Summer Health Education's Professions Program, SHPEP. But back in the day, it was Summer Medical dental education program. And so I participated at that over a summer. I was fortunate enough to be accepted to it. And it basically takes about 60 to 70 students from around the country and place them at these schools who usually have health professions and expose them and allow them to shadow and things in that nature. So that was the first thing that I particularly know really solidified my decision, especially after my first year of undergrad. And it also helped expose me to knowing like this is the steps I need to take for the next 3 to 4 years in order to accomplish my goal. The second thing, especially in the field of dentistry, is I worked as a dental assistant. And so my first dental assistant job, I actually, in Missouri, you don't have to have a license to be a dental assistant. A lot of dentists train their assistants. And so particularly at that time, I asked a local dentist to shadow, asked him for a while to shadow, and then they eventually hired me on just based on my experience, based on me being hands-on. And I do think being a dental assistant, probably I guess 4 years before I started, 3 to 4 years before I started dental school, really allowed a type of learning curve to where there's certain things in school I didn't have to learn because I have done it so much. In my experience, there's certain things that I knew the process to do a filling because I've done so many with the doctor and things in that nature. So now it was just allowing me to learn the things that they don't teach, that the doctor was doing on from his side. So I definitely would say being a dental assistant was a huge impact. And then ultimately shadowing. I think I logged like over 100+ hours of shadowing experience in the dental fields. And that really allowed me to know what I'm getting into before I started. I shadowed at dental schools. I shadowed at other offices. I also went on a medical dental mission trip in undergrad too, to where I saw how it looks internationally on that side as well. So that experience really exposed me to where when I got into clinic and got into dental school, nothing surprised me per se. It was just now that I'm on the other side of the chair as for sure a provider at that point, those are the different skills that I had to fine tune. So I would say those are the biggest things that really assisted me in my process. I was fortunate enough to do a gap year as well in between starting school. So this is actually my gap year was finishing and COVID was starting. So I graduated in 2019, and so I did end up taking a gap year that allowed me to study for my dental admissions test because at the time, I'll be quite honest, I was not successful. I got a 16 while I was trying to take it while being in school, while trying to be involved with all these curriculars. On top of I had like 2 jobs at the time. So it was just a lot of things that I didn't allow myself the adequate enough time to study. And so I promised myself by the second time I took the exam, if the score is not something I like, I'll take a gap year, I'll study over the summer, work, and then apply again. Score didn't look how I wanted it. I took a gap year, I studied over the summer, I raised my score to 21, which is above the average was 18. So that time it opened up the floodgates to I think I had about 7 interviews, offers at the time, and then eventually now I'm here today. So that was also something to where I'm blessed that I had the gap year because that was an amazing reset for me. Even with the pandemic, I was able to spend a good quality time with my family, especially knowing I wanted to move away from home. And just ultimately, it's something that if you feel like you may need it, then go for it. Because dental school is always going to be there. And if you want to continue to perfect your application and things of that nature, you always will have that time to do that. But I strongly recommend a gap year. Again, I was able to work full-time as an assistant. I still was able to learn things in my field and have a lot of great connections that even assisted me on landing some interviews too. But at the same time, that's something to where I'm happy I didn't have to say I would change, I would do a gap year, because a lot of students, when I did actually have interviews and they were graduating, they were like, I kind of wish I did one, but we're here already about to graduate too. So
yeah, that's super inspiring actually, because I have thought on and off about a gap year after my undergrad. So it's really good to hear that, you were able to take your time to work on yourself, work on your scores, and still have that same passion and discipline to get back in the game and be where you are in school. So just for context, because I'm not quite familiar with
Absolutely.
dental school, how many years is it? And then like I know there's some times like clinical hours and stuff like that. So just what's the layout of dental school?
No, that's a great question. Most dental schools across the country kind of have two different layouts, but I'll just explain mine. Um, we're kind of the traditional aspect where the first 2 years are didactic. So we're just in the classroom, we're learning, we're in our labs to where we have like fake teeth we drill on and things in that nature. The last 2 years, your D3 and your D4 years, when you actually get into patient care. Patient care in terms of I've done root canals, crowns. Well, I haven't done crowns yet, but extractions, working with patients. I've done dentures, things in that nature, to where this is when you have your own patient pool and you're basically a mini clinician who is overseen by attendings who are already dentists. So that's kind of the layout how our school goes. Some schools, they roll their schedule is a little different, to where yes, the last couple of years you still see patients, but they go by like 3 semesters in a year and things of that nature. So that's just kind of like a different schedule. But long story short, that's the layout. In terms of clinical hours, like I said, the first years the schedule's packed. I think D2 year across most schools who have that traditional layout, you have like 28 credit hours. It's something crazy. So that's how that happens with that. And then of course the last years it trickles down, and then you're just really solely having patient care. So that's the layout how dental school works. The bright side about dentistry that a lot of dentists statistically pay back their loans faster, because once we graduate, we can start working if you wanted to, unless you want to specialize in different specialties. So that's why a lot of us, unlike other professors, and other professionals still have it too, to where we start patient care a little bit earlier within our schooling compared to other professions per se.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you told me what year you were on in the beginning.
Fourth year. This is my last year. Going into my last year. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is your day-to-day task and such consist of while you're in school, and how do you balance that with the other parts of your life?
That's a great question. So currently how fourth year is set up, in the morning times from like 8 to 10 we have class, and then the evenings we either have rotations or you can schedule patients. So that's how it works in terms of my day-to-day schedule. So for me, I go to class in the morning. I again have my lunchtime in between rotations of patients. After school, right now I'm studying for our boards, but last year I was studying for any exams or anything in that nature coming up. And then kind of have some me time and wind down towards the end of the day. I would say this, I'm on the other side of dental school. D2 Stacie was just eat, sleep, study. But I've always ensured that I at least have one day out the week to have some me time. My biggest theme these past couple of years, because I was really big on mental health, that was something that I started during my gap year, is on Fridays, I did not study. I did not pick up a book. I just kind of gave myself the rest of that day off. And then Saturday and Sundays, I handled everything from there. So it's kind of like a day-to-day. I still have time to, go to dinner and things of that nature, but impromptu things aren't always the most efficient, because it's important for me to plan. So I know, if I'm doing this day, I need to study or things of that nature. I also have been involved at our college. And so with me now currently president of our student council, a lot of times in between the day, I'll have meetings and things of that nature too. So yeah. Our school is also big on community service. And so on the weekends, a lot of us do different events around health fairs, things of that nature around the DC area. So that's kind of like my day to day.
Okay. It sounds pretty balanced. Mm-hmm. At your school and some of your organizations, have you been able to make friends and make connections, and just what has it been like, being around other people that are in your same field and like-minded with you?
No, it's really has been one reason I chose Howard is based off of the people that are there. My experience in terms of my cohort, those above and underneath me, we definitely have gotten very close. We've been in the trenches together now, going on 4 years now. We learn each other when we're good, when we're bad. In Brightside, our class is a little bit smaller than some. We're about 73 in our class, and so with us being smaller, we kind of, like I said, we know each other. We know, oh, congratulations on this, happy birthday on this, your husband's doing that, and things in that nature. So we have been able to build an amazing bond as a class. And there's also people in my class too. And like one of my classmates, I'm in her wedding coming up, I'm her hostess. And so having those bonds has been a blessing too, because I know they'll continue on after we finish school. Another thing I've been fortunate of is I've met a lot of people outside of dental school, because you gotta have to have a balance, because when dentists get together we just talk about the same thing and we don't like take a step back and digress.
Yeah.
And so these past couple of years I've been very fortunate enough to have my outside friends too, to where, and I keep them separate, and so at that point I don't have to be, student doctor Stacie Davis. I can just be Stacie, and we just talk about whatever else is going on in the world, and they're in other professions. And so that's one reason I love DC too. There's so many different people here that are friendly, and we all like to just be communal and things in that nature. But I have been able to have that balance of dental school friends and friends that also are outside as well. So that's kind of how that works with that. So wherever school you go to, you're going to get close with your classmates. This inevitable. And to think that you can do it by yourself is virtually impossible. It really takes a group effort to get through tests, to get through projects, to talk through patients, talk through processes and things in that nature. And, going to a school that supports that camaraderie, I think is very vital, not only for yourself, but just for your mental health. Like truly, most schools, you are not alone through the struggle. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are your future plans for after you graduate? Are you thinking to kind of stay in the place you are? You want to move, or are you not like in your personal life, but are you in a relationship and that kind of thing?
No, it's a great question. So after I graduate, I do plan to work in public health dentistry. So basically, at a lot of cities have community centers that give more affordable healthcare, and they accept Medicaid and Medicare and things in that nature. So one of my goals, I've always wanted to do that, is to give back to minority communities and work in those centers, just so they can have a face that they can trust, and we can start to break down the stigmatism of doctors and dentists and things in that nature and their intent for the patients. So that's one of my goals. Hopefully in the next couple of years too, I plan to either open or buy a practice from a retiring dentist. So that's in the works, as well as I continue to expand just my experiences overall. I plan to stay in the DMV area. I really love it up here. And I am currently dating someone. It is possible to date in dental school. A lot of people think when you get in medical and dental school, that's not possible, but it really depends on the type of person that you're dating. I'm blessed to where that my boyfriend is extremely patient. He's okay that I'm an hour late and I just finished this patient. And he's been extremely supportive of, when you have your highs and lows throughout the journey. So I always say, whoever you choose to love, it is possible to date. It is possible to go on dates. It is possible to continue to build those connections. It just really depends on the person. If you can mentally, if they're able to support you mentally, emotionally, and be understanding that even though these 4 years are going to be tumultuous, but it's not going to always be like this too. So, so I hope we've been dating for about 3 years now. And we actually met, I guess going on 4. We met in undergrad, and he ended up moving up here. And so hopefully that's in the works too later on down the life. We continue to build our life together, and he likes it up here too. And so unfortunately, I don't have a lot of family in DC. So that's something to where if you always move away, that's something to think about if that's something you need. But at this point, I'm okay. in that area. So that's kind of my plans. Eventually, I would love to, open up my own nonprofits and exposing minority women, especially, and men too, just to the field of health, because, that's something that I just feel like if we don't continue to pour back into our communities, pour back into our youth, I don't want them to get lost along the way. I don't want social media to waver them to something else and things of that nature. And then continue to have these type of spaces of dialogue of expressing my journey, expressing my trials and tribulations, and just encouraging people, honestly, if my little self from St. Louis can come to DC, end up being president of my class, not president of my class, but president of student council on my last year, extremely successful in clinic, like literally anyone else can do it. And so those are also my plans in the future, is to continue to pour back into communities, continue to do international mission trips in dentistry, and just ultimately travel. I'm a travel bug. I'm always on a flight somewhere. So that's going to be my thing, as well as making sure I have my me time and my trips. So
yeah, okay, that's super cool, because I love to see Black professionals and talk to Black professionals, and I think it's really cool that you're passionate about sharing that with other people in our culture and our communities.
yes.
So I do see that you are passionate, but I know that there are some downsides to every career and every choice you make. So what is one thing that you didn't anticipate being challenging in your dental career? Or something that has just been a surprise that you're kind of like, well, you have to adapt to that.
I think the biggest thing is, for me, because I've worked in a dental offices do not function the same as dental schools. And so in my head, I'm like, it just makes sense to do it this way because, that's how you have production, that's how you do that. But oftentimes there's so many other aspects that dental schools have to think about, to where trying to find that common ground between that administrative side and me knowing, I've seen a successful office, this is what that balance was something I did not expect. One, I didn't expect my experience to make that much of an influence on my opinion in terms of, dentistry and what I've seen, the influence of it. But I didn't expect how much it was to waver throughout the process. So I would say that would be one of the biggest things as of late that I did not expect was how I'm tired of being in school. And so I'm excited to be able to have that freedom eventually, to even have my own practice, to even work under an associate with a different set of rules that I feel hopefully that, I continue to think to me will make the most sense. But at this point, I am tired of being in that student aspect and that inferior aspect. And I'm looking forward to, like I said, my freedom and time, and tired of taking tests and things of that nature. So in terms of Stacie the student, that's the biggest challenge. I think as Stacie the person, that's the biggest thing that I knew was coming, but I didn't expect it, that even if you are in school, everyone else's life keeps going. Like, it doesn't stop just because you're in school. So one of the hardest things that has been difficult just for me to accept is I'm going to miss birthdays. I'm going to forget birthdays because I just had a 6-hour test. I'm not going to be able to always fly home for things, and missing out people that unfortunately pass away over time. So I'm not going to be able to be as supportive during that time, because no matter what, I still, have to show up here or have to present there. And so that's the part to where, like I said, I knew it was coming, but as I continue to get older and continue to have all my family's getting older and my friends are getting older, right now as a student, missing out on those experiences has been very difficult. And ultimately, I went through a lot in terms of my perseverance undergrad. I'll never say I'm Einstein. I just work hard for the grades that I've had. And so I would say too, in terms of the academic side and just mentally, it has really been a process of learning myself and being patient with myself, because I am a perfectionist. And so with that, learning that patience has been a trial through these past 4 years. fighting imposter syndrome has been a trial, especially when I am in a field to where there's only 3% of us Black dentists. And so getting used to that aspect and understanding that my mindset is different from, my white counterparts in certain aspects, those are those different conversations to where that imposter syndrome sometimes kicks in. But fighting that, me being so hard on myself and being patient with myself and learning has really been a roller coaster through the years. But I'm excited to where the growth that for everything I just stated that has happened at this point. The only thing you don't get used to is being away from family, of course.
Yeah.
So that is what I would say has been my biggest takeaways in terms of, I guess you can say, like, thorns throughout this process, is being tired of being a student, being away from family, and just the growth that just happens with life and the environment that you unfortunately have to adapt to be malleable in.
Yeah. Okay, those are really good answers. I wasn't expecting the part about life going on. I definitely get bits and pieces of that being in my undergrad, but I can only imagine what it's like moving to a completely new state 2 times over. So this is my last question. You mentioned your white counterparts, but you said you were in the DMV area. So when you said DMV, in my head, I kind of assumed a predominantly Black culture, but I do know that you're in a field that's not quite the case. So can you think of any times that you have had any problems that you feel like were based off of who you are, your culture, or the color of your skin, and how did you handle it?
I think that's a great question. I think right now I'm in the Howard University bubble, so a lot of things I don't stress about too much right now, but based off of my experience, even as a dental assistant, even applying to go to dental school, a lot of people, when I said, oh, I'm applying to go to dental school, their response was, oh, to be a dental hygienist, oh, to be a dental assistant. And when I expressed them, no, it's to be a dentist, their reaction visibly was just like, whoa, like, you thought I was saying I'm Jesus, So that was something to where oftentimes, as people of color, as people, when we walk into these different spaces, walk into different meetings, and we see the ones that aren't focused predominantly on the minority community, like our National Dental Association, that's predominantly our organized dentistry association that's been around for a long time, is predominantly Black or people of color. But when you get into those other settings, you see the difference in terms of what their classes look like, who are they accepting, their faculty, their staff. And so I would just say my experience to get to this point has been one of, I guess you can say, just people surprised on how I got here. Where am I from? Are your parents dentists? Things in that nature. So I think that was something to where has been a problem and will forever, unfortunately, be a problem. Me looking younger, me being Black, me having my hair how I want to have it. But I also would say, too, the DC area is an extremely diverse area. I'm sure they have their pockets, but all the dentists that I've met in the area have been amazing and super helpful. But I know this is DC, like you said. But I do know that how I've overcome it is just to stay to my truth, to make sure that I always keep my tribe close and always lean on them when I need to. And like I said, that imposter syndrome is something that often occurs with a lot of people. But just to remember, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be more than, and I have friends who are hygienists. We have a hygiene program at the school, but I can be a doctor. Like, why can't that be your first thing to say? So those are the different things to where I've been blessed enough to learn how to navigate through my time. Went to PWI for undergrad, now I'm HBCU now. But also, I just would say throughout this experience too, is just remember, like, you wouldn't be here for a reason. The universe or God, whoever you identify with, wouldn't allow you to be in this space for a reason, and you deserve to be there. So those are my advice in terms of my experiences and when it comes to different type of societal barriers and boundaries that have occurred in my lifetime.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for meeting with me. It's been super inspirational for me personally. So I know that when other people get to listen to you and your journey, that they will get a lot from it, especially students that are looking to go into the medical field. Okay, I was trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. But thank
No
you so
worries.
much for your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And have any other questions, just feel free to let me know.
Okie doke. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.